So, not really agreeing with a lot of his choices. Just two guys, there you go. Oh, somebody was asking me earlier about boxing technique. How do I know how many guys to transfer? I select like this. I see 2 rows is 16. So I should transfer 4 guys. I select a group, 5. Shift click gives me 4. That's how you would transfer. It's a little tutorial inside my tutorial. So let's get back to the game here. Siege mode almost done. Still not seeing any siege tanks. Got a couple marauders, 3 in here. Now he's seen a fairly heavy tank force. And even though tanks are actually very good against marauders, marauders are also very good against tanks. He doesn't have any unsieged here for me to show you. But siege tanks actually do a lot of damage to armor. Even in siege mode they do. Outside of siege mode they actually do more damage than in siege mode. Reason is because that 1 weapon speed with 25 damage on armored, actually more than the 35 they do in siege mode. So, not doing much. I don't really know what this bunker's purpose is. It's hard for your enemy to even get troops back into here. Maybe putting it over here, or like right here where the supply depot is. That'd be more helpful. Notice another thing is, Diakon has moved out. What has Tom seen? Not a goddamn thing. If he had, I don't know, flown a barracks over there, taken this place early with those 4 Marines, hell, even a scan, you know, he'd realize something was up. Instead, this has actually come as a big shock to him. Oh, also while we're here, 3 idle workers. If you hit Control F1, you can actually select all 3 and then just send them right to a mineral patch. Real quick and easy. Notice something else. Starport. So he built a second starport. His first one was barely being kept in production. But there's also this thing called a reactor. And if you want to build twice as many Vikings at a starport, you can build a reactor instead of a second starport, which is way more expensive. Let's see how expensive that was. 150 minerals and 100 gas, as compared to 50 minerals and 50 gas. Well, not way more expensive, but an extra 100 minerals. And you gotta think, that's 600 minerals now if you count all these missile turrets too. 600 minerals, let's see, that's about 12 more Marines. Could really use those right about now. Oh, and we're finally seeing our first siege tank. Well, it's gonna arrive a little late here, Tom. I'm sorry. Daikon's actually doing something semi-clever here. He's moving his siege tanks like a caterpillar so they get nice coverage on each other. Usually the timing push for siege tanks is when you have about 6. He has about 4 here, so his sort of caterpillar leapfrog here isn't doing a great job. Notice something else here. This siege tank very nicely can attack this bunker right here and this barracks. Kind of in a tough position. What's more, it's hard for him to get all these Marines out into a defensive position because he's got these buildings in the way. Well, actually, see, he's not able to get them there. And great harassment here. Stimpak, such a powerful ability. Mid-game, it's what gives a second life to Marauder Marine. And if we look at Tom, he's actually researching it, but he's researching it really late. One of the key things about an important upgrade like Stimpak is you want to get it really before you need it. That way, it's done just in case. Now, if you try and get it now, when the battle is just starting, it's going to take 2 minutes. This battle is not going to take 2 minutes to resolve itself. That Stimpak is never going to get here in time. Meanwhile, look at all these idle buildings. Building nothing. So here's Tom again, trying to get up there. Can't really get up there. Putting himself in these chokes, getting blocked. All because his barracks is here. I mean, Tom, at least lift it up. Also, you notice those Vikings died very quickly. Vikings, not very good against Marines. Would have liked to have seen maybe just taking those Vikings, skirted around here and landed on top of the siege tanks when he made a move in. Alternatively, just sticking them back over here and using them instead of these missile turrets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missile turrets. Oh, and we finally got the reactor on the starport. You know, the second starport we built, even though we didn't need it. And these Marines are just going to get eaten up. And there's really nothing Tom can do. Like, at this point, none of this is his fault. He's made enough sort of errors here that there's no way out of this. Another point, the infantry weapons like the Stimpak, you need to get it before you need it. He's throwing down a 6 missile turret. I'm not sure I really understand that, but siege tank, even though it does a decent job here, these Marines alone are enough to sort of take out everything he's got left. The medevacs will die, but he doesn't really need them. He's just going to waltz into Tom's base and, well, act like he owns the place, because let's face it, he does. Again, Stimpak didn't make it in time. Still had another 30 seconds left on it. This is really sad. More Vikings coming out, really not useful at all. So, at this point, it's kind of over for Tom. So let's leave him for a moment, and we can see this extra force coming up. Let's go back to his opponent's base here for a second. So what did we see? Well, if we ignore this right here, which, remember earlier, he only used one of these, and then he just used a tech lab as research. And we ignore this, which he never actually uses. See a standard 1-1-1 build, very nice. Daikon here says that he kind of screwed up his build, and it's true. These extra barracks were mistakes, and that's fine, and he realizes that. He built missile turrets, one in the front, one in the back. Goal here was just to stop any sort of Viking harass. Very useful. Medevac harassment could have been shut down by Vikings. So, and you know, he still keeps 3 of his 4 tanks here. And tanks again, just very nice, even unsieged. But really, it was that siege mode right in here, forcing Tom to come out, forcing him into tight spots right here, forcing him to really use the choke against himself. Another thing I don't particularly like, Tom, listen, you've lost. I'm sorry. Please don't run away and drag this out. I appreciate that you're frustrated, that you don't really know what went wrong. But a lot of people do this, and it's very frustrating, and I'm not really sure why they do it. If we were to play additional games after this, I could understand it, you know, kind of piss your opponent off, put them on tilt. But in this situation, you're just kind of prolonging the inevitable. And we'll notice his opponent's made a couple mistakes here. So, obviously, didn't really need this missile turret. This one's kind of smart. These extra barracks, right? Barely needed the engineering bay. Never expanded. Really would have loved to see some expansion here. You also notice tons of resources, right? So even though he did a decent job with his build, he still didn't spend his money very effectively. And that just goes to show having a very solid plan and executing on it is actually more important than doing things like macroing very well, expanding when you own the map, or any sort of like clever micro. And you know, the most clever thing he did is run back and forth with Stim Marines. Not super, not Boxer Gosu play, certainly. But you know, took this early, really controlled the map right in here, abused the choke against Tom, and you know, really, Tom had kind of lost this beforehand. So when Tom first put this question out, my response to him is, listen, you didn't really have a plan. And he sort of realizes this. His plan was essentially turtle in and wait for a good time to attack, which against an AI is a brilliant plan. Don't get me wrong. If I'm on mission 13 or something, that's my plan. You know, just turtle in, build some battlecruisers. Against a human being, it's actually really terrible because essentially you're giving them free reign. Imagine now if this guy had expanded here, 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 right? He'd have 4 times the force and easily steamroll Tom. Didn't put any pressure on him, so you know, you really let him get right in here, have very nice position. In Terran vs. Terran, having position is a key element to the game. And had a bunch of things he built that he just didn't use. So, my advice, next time, stick with a very, very simple build. Alright? 3 barracks, fine. 2 with tech labs, 1 with reactor. You have a nice little Marine Marauder ball, and you can send that in around the 6.5 minute mark. When you have about 5 of each, it'll do very effectively, or at least keep your opponent pinned into his base, give you some control, give you some breathing room. From there, factory starport, start getting medevacs, start looking at maybe some drops, right? A lot of ways I could drop into this base, like right in here. Oh, this is a great drop. I could take out this refinery, cutting his gas is really crucial, right? Maybe take out some of these supply depots, block them a little, or just get in on some of these SCVs. Hop right into the medevac, be gone before he gets there. Again, over here, same sort of thing. I could take out this barracks, maybe some supply depots, the other refinery. Like, if you can get both of those refineries mid-game at a crucial time, really, really set your opponent back. Moving on from drops, and even if you're just using medevacs to heal, like Diacon did, it really helps with stim, really gives a second life to the Marine Marauder Ball. And then late game, start adding in siege tanks or Thors, start really cracking the shell. But the key thing is that, you know, if you can take like 3 bases against a Terran that's just turtling, you're going to beat him. You're going to beat him every day of the week, and probably twice on Sunday. So this has been Scenes again, just trying to help out. And please don't take anything personally, Tom. I'm just trying to help you in your play and other people, because this is a very common mistake, just building stuff to build it. I think the last time I did one of these, it was the case. We had another question like this earlier today. Again, it was the case. Building stuff to build it really just hurts players. Look at all these buildings. In fact, I find it sometimes helpful, just put them all in a control group and start looking how many you have. And the rule of thumb is usually divide by 3. And if you're getting more than the number of bases you have, you just can't support them all.